Hi, I'm Mark Tubinis. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Veea. We've been out in the marketplace looking for different applications and seeing different applications of LoRa that have kind of changed our thinking about the opportunities to apply LoRa in a variety of solutions. The benefits of LoRa are well known by this community: long battery life and the wide variety of both sensors and actuators that are using the LoRa connectivity has been growing leaps and bounds. What we're seeing is LoRa can be applied not only to the public spaces, but we're finding private spaces that really can benefit from the integration of LoRa and with other things too, as well, as you'll see. And what we're finding is that in order to accomplish and get the full benefit of LoRa technology, Veea is seeing all kinds of opportunities, but you need to be really conscious of how you can best bring LoRa technologies to bear in the marketplace. And we believe that it takes the integration of technologies and trying to have simple solutions that can be easily deployed is critical for success. Veea's technology portfolio is really its edge platform, and I'd like to talk to you about how it can provide that integration to help LoRa make its way into the marketplace. First of all, what you're trying to do when you're trying to extract the benefits of LoRa-based sensors and control technologies, you need to get that information to that cloud. But when you're talking about these alternative use cases, you need to bring it to potentially a data center that's at the edge. And the problem in that case is data centers are costly to deploy, they're complex. And in some cases, data centers aren't where the devices are. They're not where you're going to be actually trying to get the information. When you're talking about private LoRa deployments, it's very, very difficult to see how you're going to be putting a micro data center on Tom's farm in the middle of nowhere in order to collect that data and actually use it for the business purposes that you have. So different opportunity, different solution. Why not put that connection and computing as close to the edge and as close to the actual LoRa sensors as you possibly can? One approach is to integrate the connectivity, i.e. the LoRa radios and potentially other IoT radios, looking at also doing the actual computing at the edge so that you can take that LoRa data, you can make decisions based on it, and then actually go in and possibly do controls using that information, processed information. But you may need to move the data outside the edge and send it back to the cloud, for instance, for keeping historical data. So you need to protect that data on the exit. You need some storage because you're generating a lot of information. You have thousands of sensors that are out monitoring temperature and moisture and all those other things. You need to be able to store that time series data so you can use it for processing and historical analysis in the future. And lastly, you need the access. You need to be able to get the data between nodes, perhaps. You need to get data to the cloud, perhaps, which we can use 4G connectivity to the cloud, or you can use maybe a wired data connection. But those are all the necessary components you want to actually integrate together. And the benefit is just reduce TCO. That's what it comes down to. You've got fewer boxes, are easier to manage, easier to deploy. You've got fewer integration points when it's all in a single system. So looking at, typical deployments, when you're looking at taking advantage of LoRa, and especially you're looking at private LoRa kinds of deployments, you may be combining not only just LoRa, but you may be using other sensor technologies that have certain characteristics. You may be, bringing cameras into the picture to do some visual analytics at the edge. Those all take discrete gateways typically. Then you've got to find a way to connect them together, get them connected to your actual applications processors, and possibly connect them to the cloud. There's a lot of devices that come into play here that make it complex to not only deploy, to integrate, but also to manage. So propose a different solution, a different way of doing it, integrating all these functions into a smart edge node, and then suddenly it becomes easier and easier. But there's also opportunities to go one step further and bring your entire application from the cloud into the edge. So you can have an air gap network, something that's resilient, reliable, that basically gives you the ability to keep all of the processing and benefits of LoRa at the edge. But it's not a complete solution with a single node. So you need to also consider, especially in situations where you're in a mine, for instance, where the LoRa may be great in one X direction, but it can't travel in the Y direction. So you need ways to bring all of that data together. And an easy way to do it is to use mesh networking. By using mesh networking, you can get your coverage. You can basically extend your network quite easily. And with the mesh, you can also be moving data between multiple smart edge nodes on the edge and basically doing your computing and your control on the edge. And it's also easier to scale as the situation changes. You add more sensors. You need to reach new places. You can easily add an additional node that just extends not only your connectivity mesh, but it also extends your computing mesh. It's a good low-cost way to add devices to the network, and it allows for the rapid expansion. And in some cases, if you're in a construction site, for instance, you can actually tear the thing down very quickly as well. So here's a simple example of a situation that's, real situation that shows the entire benefits of what we're talking about. A global manufacturer of ventilation systems, well known in the Latin American area, was looking at reimagining their solutions for controlling the ventilation systems and actually monitoring the air quality in tunnels across Latin America. In the past, they've had to rely on wired technology, which has a number of drawbacks. Very costly to deploy. They're not necessarily secure. Cable is a commodity that people will steal out of the tunnels. So they looked at the idea of using LoRa to replace the connectivity between the control systems and the actual devices that were being monitored and controlled with LoRa. This turned out to be an ideal solution for this particular problem. These are tunnels that are deep into mountains, therefore public LoRa couldn't reach there. They needed to have a standalone solution that could run independently of the cloud, and they needed a resilient system to make sure that these life safety systems were being managed. So they took all the benefits of the approach that we're talking about, using both the mesh networking to provide the resiliency, as well as LoRa to provide the easy connectivity between all of the numerous devices that were in the tunnel to provide a solution. So this is just one example of many that we're seeing of taking this kind of integrated approach to really extending the reach of LoRa into new use cases and new opportunities. If you'd like to learn more about this kind of approach, we have a deep dive from tunnel to cloud, building simple, scalable private LoRaWAN solutions underground. It's being presented by Mohan Gandhu, Veea's Vice President of IoT Applications. And it's on Thursday. Hope you'll join us, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much.